High Admiral Xylera stood before the Galactic Federation Council, her crystalline exoskeleton catching the light from the chamber's ancient plasma arrays. 300 cycles of military service had taught her to recognize patterns in warfare, to see the invisible threads that connected seemingly random events. What she saw now filled her with dread. "Counselors," she began, her translator converting her harmonic speech into the standard galactic frequency. "I stand before you today, not as a military commander, but as someone who has witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. Your decision to forcefully integrate humanity into our war against the Void Collective is a mistake that could destroy everything we've built." The council chamber erupted in murmurs. Delegate Morn, a gaseous being contained within an ornate environmental suit, pulsed with skepticism. "High Admiral, humanity is barely a stellar civilization. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They have no unified government, no significant fleet presence. How could they possibly pose any threat to our plans?" Xylera activated her neural interface, projecting a holographic display of Earth and its solar system. "That's precisely why we should be cautious. You see a primitive species, but I see something unprecedented in our records." The display shifted, showing various human conflicts throughout history. In every documented case of technological advancement in the galaxy, species followed predictable patterns. Not humans. She zoomed in on Earth's surface, highlighting various regions. They simultaneously develop hundreds of competing technologies, multiple approaches to the same problem. While we perfect a single solution over centuries, they create dozens of imperfect ones in years. Their chaos breeds innovation at a rate we can barely comprehend. Supreme Counselor Vex, an ancient being who had led the Federation through 2 galactic wars, leaned forward. "You speak of their potential, Admiral, but potential without direction is meaningless. The Void Collective expands daily. We need allies, not hypothetical scenarios." "With respect, Supreme Counselor, I'm speaking of documented facts." Xylera brought up new data streams, showing human technological progress over the past century. When we first detected their radio signals, they were using primitive chemical rockets. Within one of their generations, they had AI systems that rivaled our own. Their neural interfaces, while crude, developed along paths our scientists never considered. They don't just think differently. They think in ways that defy our understanding of cognitive evolution. "All the more reason to bring them under Federation guidance," Delegate Morn countered. "Their potential could be properly channeled." Xylera's crystalline form shifted, expressing deep concern in her species manner. "That's where you're wrong. I've studied every instance of forced technological integration in our history. Species that are compelled to advance too quickly either collapse or rebel. But humans..." She paused, bringing up images of Earth's defense systems. "Humans do something else entirely. They adapt, then innovate, then exceed expectations in ways that transform the very parameters of the challenge." She walked closer to the Council's elevated platform, her voice taking on a more urgent tone. "When the Arcturus Alliance tried to subjugate the Proxima colonies, humanity didn't just defend. They created an entirely new form of spatial warfare. Their ships weren't better than Arcturus vessels, but their tactics, their strategies, they turned their weaknesses into advantages. They used their technological limitations as weapons. You suggest we simply leave them be." Supreme Counselor Vex's tone carried centuries of authority. "While the Void Collective consumes world after world, I suggest we let them choose their own path." Xylera responded. "If we force them into this war, we won't be gaining an ally. We'll be creating something unpredictable, something that could reshape the very nature of this conflict, and not necessarily in our favor." The chamber fell silent as Xylera projected one final image, a simulation of possible outcomes based on her military eyes calculations. The projection showed hundreds of branching timelines, but in an alarming number of them, the familiar structure of galactic civilization had been transformed into something none of them recognized. "The Void Collective is a known threat," she concluded. We understand its patterns, its goals, its methods of warfare. But humans don't follow patterns. They break them, reshape them, create new ones we can't predict. If we force their hand, we won't just be fighting one war. We'll be initiating a cascade of changes that could reshape the galaxy in ways none of us can foresee. Supreme Counselor Vex was quiet for a long moment, his ancient eyes studying the shifting projections. You've given us much to consider, High Admiral. But the Council has already set the wheels in motion. The diplomatic fleet departs for Earth within the cycle. Cetala's crystalline form dimmed slightly, a sign of deep resignation among her people. Then I request permission to maintain distance from Earth's system. When the humans surprise us, and they will surprise us, someone needs to be ready to adapt to whatever new reality they create. As she left the chamber, Celara sent a private command to her flagship AI. It began compiling all available data on human military history, technological development, and social adaptation. She had warned the Council, but she knew they wouldn't listen. Now she had to prepare for the chaos that would follow. In Earth's orbit, unaware of the discussion that would shape their future, human scientists were about to test their latest innovation, a quantum communication system that worked on principles the Federation had deemed impossible. The pattern was already beginning to break. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the United Earth Defense Command Center, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the approaching Federation fleet. As head of Earth's Quantum Physics Division, she had spent the last decade developing technologies that most of humanity's finest minds had deemed impossible. Now those innovations were about to be tested. They're maintaining their approach vector, reported Colonel Marcus Hayes, his dark features illuminated by the command center's displays. 17 vessels, formation consistent with diplomatic protocols according to the data packet they transmitted. Sarah nodded, but her attention was focused on the quantum readouts from their new detection grid. Something wasn't adding up. The energy signatures don't match their declared configurations. They're running active weapon systems behind their diplomatic shields. The room fell silent. Earth's response to the Federation's arrival had been carefully planned, a show of peaceful technological achievement while maintaining ready defenses. But the Federation's subtle deception changed everything. Director Walsh needs to know, Sarah said, already sending the data to the UED director's neural interface. They're not here for diplomatic talks. This is a show of force. In her office overlooking the Singapore space elevator, Director Helena Walsh received the data and felt a familiar tension headache building. The Federation clearly expected to find a primitive civilization they could overawe with their superior technology. Instead, they were about to discover just how far humanity had come in their own unique way. Initiate Protocol Omega, Helena commanded through her neural link. But maintain diplomatic channels. Let's see how they react when their assumptions start falling apart. In high orbit, the Federation's diplomatic fleet approached Earth's defensive perimeter. Ambassador Trell, a towering arthropodian being, stood on his flagship's command deck with supreme confidence. The humans would be impressed by their ships, awed by their technology, and grateful for the opportunity to join the Federation's cause. That confidence lasted exactly 6 seconds after they crossed the quantum detection grid. Ambassador, his science officer reported, mandibles clicking in confusion. We're detecting. That's impossible. The humans have quantum entanglement technology, but it's not following any known principles off. We've lost shields, the defensive coordinator interrupted, their bioluminescent patches flaring with alarm. All ships reporting the same. Some kind of quantum interference pattern. It's like nothing in our database. Ambassador Trell's outer carapace darkened with anger. Impossible. Their technology is centuries behind ours. Activate secondary systems and... Sir, the communication officer's translator barely kept up with their agitated clicks. We're receiving a transmission, but it's coming through our secure quantum channels. They've matched our encryption. On every screen across the Federation fleet, Director Walsh's image appeared. She sat calmly at her desk, looking more like a corporate executive than a military leader. "Ambassador Trell, welcome to Earth space. I see you've encountered our quantum defense grid. Don't worry, the effect is temporary. We merely wanted to demonstrate that entering our space with active weapon systems, hidden behind diplomatic shields, isn't the best way to start negotiations." Trell's secondary hearts nearly stopped. In less than a minute, these supposedly primitive humans had neutralized his fleet's defenses and compromised their most secure communications. How? How did you develop quantum technology that works differently than yours? Helena smiled. "That's humanity's greatest strength, Ambassador. We don't follow the expected paths of technological development. We explore every possibility, even the ones that seem impossible. Your scientists determined quantum communications couldn't work the way we've achieved it. They were right, by their understanding of physics. But we found another way." In the UED command center, Sarah watched the quantum readings stabilize. The Federation ships hung in space, temporarily stripped of their defensive capabilities, but otherwise unharmed. It was exactly the kind of demonstration she had hoped for, decisive but non-aggressive. "Their power signatures are shifting," Marcus reported. "They're powering down all weapon systems. Looks like they got the message." Ambassador Trell struggled to maintain diplomatic composure as his fleet rushed to adapt to this unexpected situation. "Director Walsh, the Federation extends peaceful greetings to humanity. However, you must understand that this demonstration of force..." "Force?" Helena raised an eyebrow. "Ambassador, if we wanted to demonstrate force, we wouldn't have simply disabled your shields. The quantum interference pattern could have been tuned to far more disruptive frequencies. Instead, we chose to show you that humanity is ready for genuine diplomatic dialogue, as equals." In her distant flagship, High Admiral Xilura received the initial reports from the diplomatic fleet with grim satisfaction. The humans hadn't just defended themselves. They had changed the fundamental dynamics of first contact. Instead of following the traditional pattern of technological intimidation, they had demonstrated capabilities that forced the Federation to reevaluate every assumption about human development. "Admiral," her eye reported, "the Council is requesting an emergency session. They seem disturbed by the humans' quantum technology." Xilura's crystalline form shimmered with what her species would recognize as ironic amusement. "Tell them I'm analyzing the situation and update our simulations. It seems humanity is even more unpredictable than we anticipated." Back on Earth, Sarah was already studying the data from their encounter. The Federation's technology was impressive, but their approach to quantum mechanics was surprisingly linear. They had mastered one path and stuck to it, refining it over centuries. Humanity, in contrast, had pursued dozens of different approaches simultaneously, failing repeatedly until they found methods that broke all the conventional rules. "Dr. Chen," Helena's voice came through her neural link. "What do you make of their reaction?" Sarah smiled as she manipulated the quantum data streams. "They're scared, Director, not of our technology itself, but of what it represents. We just showed them that their understanding of the universe isn't as complete as they thought. And if they're truly facing a threat like the Void Collective, that uncertainty is going to eat at them." "Good," Helena replied, "because I have a feeling this is just the beginning. The Federation didn't come here just to recruit allies. They came because they're desperate, and desperate powers make dangerous decisions." As Earth's quantum grid continued to monitor the Federation fleet, humanity prepared for what would come next. They had changed the rules of first contact, but this was only the opening move in a much larger game, one where the stakes were nothing less than the future of galactic civilization itself. The holographic representation of the Void Collective's advance filled the UED's primary strategic chamber with an ominous purple glow. Dr. Sarah Chen studied the pattern of their expansion, her neural interface processing multiple probability scenarios simultaneously. Something about the collective's movement wasn't adding up. "They're not just consuming worlds," she muttered, manipulating the display with practiced gestures. They're searching for something. Director Helena Walsh stood beside her, watching the pattern shift. The Federation believes they're simply expanding, consuming resources to fuel their growth. But you see something different. Look here. Sarah highlighted several sectors where the Void Collective had bypassed resource-rich systems to attack seemingly insignificant ones. These movements defy strategic logic. Unless her fingers flew over the quantum interface, correlating data from Earth's new deep space sensing network. The quantum-based detection system they developed worked differently than Federation technology, offering unique insights into space-time distortions. There, she pointed to a subtle pattern that emerged when viewing the data through quantum filters. The Void Collective isn't just attacking random systems. They're following some kind of quantum signature we can barely detect. The Federation's technology would never see this. They're too focused on conventional energy patterns. In high orbit, aboard the Federation diplomatic vessel, Ambassador Trell received the latest reports with growing frustration. 2 standard cycles had passed since their failed attempt to impress humanity with a show of force, and the humans had refused to join the Federation despite repeated warnings about the Void Collective's threat. They're being obstinate, he chittered to his staff. Their quantum technology surprised us, yes, but there's still no match for the Collective. They need our protection. His communication officer, still shaken from how easily the humans had breached their quantum encryption, spoke hesitantly. Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. They want to share some findings about the Collective. On Earth, Colonel Marcus Hayes supervised the final preparations for humanity's unconventional defense strategy. Unlike the Federation's massive energy shields and traditional fleet formations, Earth had opted for something entirely different. Quantum displacement grid is at 60% coverage, a technician reported. The micro-satellite network is adapting to spatial fluctuations better than expected. Marcus nodded, watching as thousands of tiny satellites, each no larger than a coffee cup, formed an intricate web around Earth. Rather than trying to match the Federation's brute force approach to defense, humanity had developed a system that worked with quantum principles they'd discovered during their earlier experiments. Dr. Chen's theory better be right, he muttered. Because if the Collective shows up, we're betting everything on it. In her flagship light years away, High Admiral Xilera received Earth's transmission about the Void Collective with growing amazement. The humans hadn't just developed new technology. They'd found a completely different way of understanding their enemy. Analysis confirms their findings, her AI reported. The quantum signatures they've detected, they explain why the Collective's movements seem so erratic. They're not just consuming worlds. They're following a map we couldn't see. Hilara's crystalline form pulsed with concern. Send this to the Council immediately, and prepare my fleet for emergency translocation to Earth's sector. Back in the UED Command Center, Sarah and Helena presented their findings to a joint Human Federation task force. The holographic display showed the quantum signatures in stark detail, thanks to humanity's unique detection methods. The Void Collective isn't just a mindless expansion force, Sarah explained. They're following these quantum threads, signatures that suggest the presence of ancient technology far more advanced than anything we've encountered. Technology that might be quantum-based in ways neither humanity nor the Federation fully understands. Ambassador Trell's translator struggled to keep up with his agitated clicks. If this is true, if they're seeking ancient quantum technology, why haven't Federation scientists detected these signatures in all our centuries of study? Because you perfected one approach to quantum mechanics and stopped looking for alternatives, Helena replied diplomatically. Humanity's chaotic development process led us to discover principles your scientists dismissed as impossible centuries ago. The implications were staggering. The Federation's methodical, linear approach to technological development had created incredible achievements, but it had also blinded them to other possibilities. Humanity's messy, multifaceted approach had stumbled upon secrets hidden in plain sight. We're not joining the Federation, Helena continued, but we are proposing a partnership. Your understanding of conventional space-time mechanics combined with our quantum insights might be the key to understanding what the collective is really after. In orbit, Earth's quantum displacement grid continued to grow. Unlike traditional defensive systems, it didn't try to block or deflect attacks. Instead, it was designed to work with quantum principles in ways that even its creators didn't fully understand. It was a perfect example of humanity's approach to problem solving, building something that worked even when the underlying theory wasn't completely understood. Sarah's neural interface pinged with a priority alert. The quantum detection network had picked up something massive entering the outer solar system. The signal matched the quantum signatures they'd been tracking, but its scale was unprecedented. "Director," she called out, her voice tight with controlled urgency. "We're about to find out if our theories are correct. The Void Collective isn't just coming. They're sending something bigger than anything in their known fleet." Helena's neural implant flooded her system with combat stems as she processed the tactical displays. How long? At their current velocity, 6 hours. Ambassador Trell's mandibles clicked rapidly. "You can't hope to stand against them alone. Even with your quantum technology." "We're not standing against them," Helena interrupted. "We're going to try something they'll never expect." She turned to Sarah. "Initialize Protocol Omega Black. Let's show them why forcing humanity into traditional patterns of warfare was their biggest mistake." As alerts sounded throughout Earth's defense network, humanity prepared to demonstrate once again why being underestimated was their greatest advantage. The Void Collective was about to learn what the Federation already had, that humans didn't just think outside the box, they refused to acknowledge the box existed at all. The Void Collective's vessel emerged from deep space like a tear in reality itself, a massive construct that defied conventional physics. Its surface rippled with dark energy patterns that made Federation sensors malfunction and caused violent headaches in anyone with neural implants trying to look at it directly. In the UED command center, Sarah Chen's quantum interfaces filtered the visual feed through multiple layers of processing, revealing patterns that normal sensors couldn't detect. The quantum signatures are off the charts. Whatever this thing is, it's not just following the ancient quantum trails, it's actively manipulating them. Director Helena Walsh stood at the central command station, her neural implants working overtime to process the tactical data. The Federation diplomatic fleet had taken up defensive positions alongside Earth's forces, but their traditional weapons seemed almost primitive compared to what they were facing. "Status of the displacement grid?" Helena asked, her voice steady despite the tension. 98% coverage, Marcus reported. "The microsatellites are maintaining quantum coherence better than we hoped. But Director," he hesitated, "we've never tested this against anything near this scale." The massive void vessel hung in space like a dark star, its surface continuing to shift and ripple. Suddenly, every quantum sensor in Earth's defense network lit up with warnings. "They're charging something," Sarah announced, her fingers dancing over the holographic controls. "The energy signature. It's like they're trying to create a controlled quantum singularity." Ambassador Trell's voice crackled over the command channel, his translator struggling to keep up with his agitated clicks. "Director Walsh, you must retreat. The Collective is deploying a Void Lance, technology we've only seen them use to cleanse entire star systems. Your defenses cannot." "Ambassador," Helena interrupted calmly, "I suggest you move your fleet behind Earth's quantum displacement grid. What's about to happen might be difficult to explain to your scientists." High Admiral Xalara's fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel just in time to witness what came next. Her crystalline form vibrated with anticipation as her sensors registered the massive energy buildup from the Void vessel. The Void Lance fired, a beam of concentrated dark energy that should have torn through any known defense and cracked Earth's crust. Instead, something unprecedented happened. Earth's quantum displacement grid didn't try to block or deflect the attack. Instead, the network of microsatellites created a pattern of quantum interference that caused the energy beam to shift, not in normal space, but in quantum states. Impossible, Trull whispered as his sensors tried to make sense of what they were seeing. The Void Lance's energy wasn't being stopped. It was being redistributed across countless quantum states simultaneously, spreading its destructive force so thin it became harmless. Sarah's quantum interfaces were alive with data. The grid is holding. The collective's weapon relies on quantum principles we theorized, but could never generate enough energy to test. They just provided us with all the data we needed. In the space around Earth, the microsatellites began to shift their configuration, learning from the attack they'd just absorbed. The quantum displacement grid wasn't just a defensive system. It was an adaptive network that could analyze and respond to quantum-based weapons in real time. The Void vessel seemed to hesitate, its surface patterns shifting more rapidly. Then it fired again, this time splitting its attack into multiple beams. The displacement grid adapted instantly, its response even more efficient than before. "Send the signal," Helena ordered. Sarah nodded, activating a sequence they'd prepared but never been able to power sufficiently. The quantum displacement grid didn't just absorb this attack, it reflected it, but not in normal space. The energy was redirected through quantum states, emerging behind the Void vessel in a complex pattern that matched the quantum signatures they'd been tracking. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The massive ship's surface patterns became erratic, its form seemed to fluctuate between different states of reality. "By all the Ancient Ones," Trell breathed, "what did you do?" "We used their own quantum manipulation against them," Sarah explained, her eyes fixed on the data streams. The collective wasn't just following those quantum signatures. They were using them to maintain stability in our universe. Their technology operates on principles that should be impossible in normal spacetime. We just disrupted their quantum anchor points. The Void vessel began to retreat, its massive form seeming to flicker in and out of existence. But humanity wasn't finished. The quantum displacement grid shifted again, this time creating a pattern that trapped the vessel in a network of quantum interference. "Signal from the Void vessel," Marcus announced. "It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Multiple quantum frequencies, layered encryption. Wait." He paused, surprised. "It's asking for communication." Helena smiled. "Accept the transmission. Let's see what happens when you force an unknowable cosmic horror to sit down and talk." The holographic display came alive with patterns that should have been impossible, geometric shapes that existed in more dimensions than human minds could process. But the quantum interfaces translated them into something comprehensible. "You understand." The transmission began. The concepts more than words. First to understand since the builders. Not destroy. Not consume. Understand. High Admiral Xylara watched in amazement as the impossible unfolded before her. Humanity hadn't just defended against the Void Collective. They had opened communication with an entity that the Federation had believed to be mindless destruction incarnate. The quantum displacement grid maintained its containment pattern as the first true dialogue with the Void Collective began. Humanity's chaotic approach to science, their willingness to pursue impossible theories, had achieved in hours what the Federation hadn't managed in centuries. As the various fleet commanders watched in stunned silence, Sarah began the complex process of establishing a stable quantum communication protocol with an entity that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Earth's first major contribution to galactic civilization wouldn't be military might or advanced technology. It would be opening dialogue with the incomprehensible. 3 months after first contact with the Void Collective, Earth had become the unlikely center of galactic diplomacy. The Singapore Space Elevator's terminal station, once designed simply to facilitate orbital transport, now hosted the most remarkable diplomatic conference in known history. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at her quantum interface station, monitoring the complex web of translations and reality state adjustments that made communication possible between such radically different forms of existence. Representatives from the Federation sat across from delegates of the Void Collective, or rather, the quantum probability patterns that represented their presence in normal spacetime. The builders knew The Void Collective's quantum patterns conveyed through the interface. Reality fragments. Space-time unravels. We searched / preserve / maintain the quantum anchors. High Admiral Xilara, who had been proved right about humanity in ways even she hadn't imagined, watched the proceedings with her crystalline form shifted to maximum receptivity. You weren't consuming worlds, she realized. You were trying to stabilize reality itself. The quantum patterns shifted in what Sarah's interface interpreted as confirmation. The builders created the anchor points, created us to maintain, but builders vanished. Pattern degraded. Communication lost. Until now. Director Helena Walsh, who had overseen humanity's transformation from a planetary civilization to a linchpin of galactic stability, stepped forward. Because we approached quantum mechanics differently than the Federation, we accidentally discovered what the builders had known: that reality needs active maintenance at the quantum level. The Federation Council members present shifted uncomfortably. Their civilization had achieved incredible technological advancement, but their methodical, linear approach had caused them to miss fundamental aspects of how the universe functioned. Humanity's chaotic, multi-pathway approach to science had stumbled upon truths they had spent centuries skating past. The quantum displacement grid, Sarah explained, bringing up a holographic display of Earth's defense system, wasn't just a weapon or a shield. It's a stabilization network, similar to what the builders created but developed through a completely different path. We created it to defend ourselves, not realizing we were rediscovering fundamental principles of reality maintenance. Ambassador Trell, who had once dismissed humanity as primitive, clicked his mandibles in what his species' body language indicated as profound respect. You turned our greatest threat into our salvation, simply because you didn't know such things were supposed to be impossible. The Void Collective's patterns rippled with complex meaning that the quantum interface translated. Humans bridge gap. Different path, same destination. Can teach Federation. Can repair anchor network. Can restore stability. Colonel Marcus Hayes, monitoring the security feeds, allowed himself a small smile. The very chaos and unpredictability that the Federation had seen as humanity's weakness had proved to be their greatest strength. Their tendency to pursue multiple solutions simultaneously, to ignore established impossibilities, had given them insights that thousands of years of methodical advancement had missed. We're establishing joint research teams, Helena announced to the assembled representatives. Federation scientists working alongside human researchers, with the Void Collective providing access to the original anchor points. Together, we'll stabilize the quantum framework of reality itself. High Admiral Xilara moved to address the gathering, her crystalline form catching the light in ways that emphasized the gravity of the moment. When I warned the Council about humanity, I spoke of their unpredictability as a potential threat. I was right about their unpredictability, but wrong about its implications. Humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy isn't their technology or their defensive innovations. It's their ability to show us how much we still have to learn. The quantum interfaces hummed as the Void Collective responded, their patterns forming structures that the translation systems rendered into clear meaning. Builders would approve. Different approaches, multiple paths, adaptive solutions. This is how universe survives. This is how reality persists. Sarah's neural implants pinged as new data flowed through the quantum network. The combined knowledge of three radically different approaches to understanding reality. The Federation's methodical advancement, humanity's chaotic innovation, and the Void Collective's extra-dimensional perspective was already yielding insights that none of them could have achieved alone. We're detecting quantum anchor points throughout the galaxy, she reported, watching as new patterns emerged in the data. Some are failing, others are stable, but now we can see them all. With our combined knowledge, we can maintain them, maybe even improve them. Helena stepped to the center of the chamber, addressing the assembled representatives of three profoundly different approaches to existence. This is humanity's role in the galaxy, not as warriors, not as subjects, not even as technological innovators. We are the bridges between different ways of thinking, different ways of existing. Our chaos isn't our weakness. It's the key to understanding truths that order alone could never reveal. As the conference continued, ships from all three civilizations moved through the solar system in carefully coordinated patterns. Federation vessels provided power and computational support. Human ships maintained the quantum displacement grid that allowed communication, and void collective entities stabilized the very fabric of space-time around them. In her flagship, now serving as a mobile research station, High Admiral Xilara recorded her final observations on humanity's impact on galactic civilization. They didn't follow our